Hi, my name's Leanne. I'm a pro makeup artist for Kryolan. Today I'm going to talk you through my foundation application. The product that I've chosen to work with today is our Supra colour. This is a very diverse product to work with. It covers across the board for all medias of makeup and also for all makeup artists. Now it is a cream based foundation. It's also an oil base as well, so it's extremely durable and it has a really high quality of pigment and is extremely blendable as well, so it's easy to manipulate to have a sheerer coverage, or you can also build it to have a slightly fuller coverage. I have two palettes that I'm going to work with today just to show you the selection that we have. This doesn't mean, however, that they're the only colours. There's hundreds of colours within the Supra colour range. Like I said to you earlier, it's across the board for all medias. So you have everything from your natural skin tones, you also have your vibrant fluorescent colours, you have metallics, and you also have interferences and also your flat shades as well. So there's lots there to choose from. These are pre-made palettes that I'm going to show you. You can customise and make your own palettes as well with Supra colour. You can also get them individually. So if you're looking more for a personal use, if it's a foundation that you're going to wear on a daily basis, then you can get them in a 30ml tub. A little bit of the product goes a long way, so you will find that the product does last. For me, being a working makeup artist, even if I do wear the product on myself for an occasional wear, I tend to work from the palette as it gives you more selection. Now, these are all the skin tone shades that we have. Now, this one is the TV palette. So this is just a few selections for your basis. Now, this one's great if you're looking to have a selection of skin tones, so whether you're needing a yellow base, pink, or if you need something more olive and neutral. So this is the TV 12 colour palette in the Supra colour range. So they come in a tin form like this. You can also have the W palette. This one is more of a warmer base. So if you are doing anything that's slightly more theatrical base for stage makeup, this tends to work with lighting a lot better. Or if you find that you're working on clientele that have a much more warmer olive undertone, then this is going to be a beneficial palette for you to have. But yeah, as I said, there's so many different colours that are out there, so you can find something for yourself and for everyone. So I'm going to start first of all with some skin prep. I have already got some eye makeup on, as you can see. Now with the foundation themselves, so one thing I would always say is analyse the skin before you apply any foundation. Now the Supra colour itself is an oil base, so you don't want to apply it directly onto someone's skin that might be slightly oilier. I would always suggest to do skin prep first. Now for myself, I'm quite a normal combination. I'm more to the drier side than I am oilier, so I do tend to work with Ultra Under Base quite often, which is this one, which is your water and silicone base emulsion. However, if I am going to be working with Supra colour as a full face foundation, if I find that myself or my clients start to get a more oilier T-zone, then I would combine my primers and use also the Perfect Matte. So this is your high silicone based primer. So if you are working on someone with an oilier skin, this is going to be beneficial. If the skin is more drier, then you have Ultra Underbase, and if they have combined, you can use both. Now with the product itself, I am relating it in this case as a foundation, but as I said to you, you can use it in a lot of different ways. So if you're doing anything that's more creative, if you want to do character based makeups, if you want to use a colour palette to do more of your fashion editorial, there is that option. They're not just a foundation, you can use them on the eyes, on the lips and on the body. They're very, very versatile. So I'm going to start first of all with applying some primer. As it's going to be on myself, I am going to use my hands. I just find it's a really nice way to get the primer into the skin. And it helps as well just to bring the blood to the surface and just give my face a little bit of a healthy glow. If you are concerned about the T-zone and you do feel like it's going to go a little bit more oilier throughout the day, our natural oils do start to come through, then you have your perfect matte. I'm going to use just a small amount. The thing with any silicone-based product, if you use too much, you can end up dehydrating the skin. It can also tend to roll, so you'll find that sometimes foundations can tend to break down, they can kind of slip away from the skin. 8 out of 10 times, that's probably due to the amount of primer and product that you've put on underneath your foundation first. So try and control the amount of product that you put on before the foundation to give you the longest longevity. Okay, so I've just put it in the most typical areas that tend to go a little bit more oilier throughout the day, and the rest of my skin is really nicely hydrated. Okay, so the first palette I'm going to work with is RTV. So this was the one that I said to you earlier that has a wider selection for your mix of tones where your W is more warmer. So first of all, I'm going to work with the Ivory and NB. These are quite nice colours for my skin tone. NB is more of a natural beige, and then your Ivory is more of a yellow undertone, which is great just to lift and brighten up your complexion. So once you're happy with the choice of colour, I'm just going to start to build up my coverage. I'm going to do half of my face first, just so that you can see the difference in coverage. I am only using such a small amount. That's more of a personal preference for me and my skin. I don't like to overload too much product onto my skin. I also find that if you are going to be wearing any foundation for a long period of time, you don't want to have the skin feeling too masked and too overbearing, because then it tends to look quite tired as the day goes on. So if you do need to build more coverage, I'm just working with kind of thin fine layers and build that up nice and slowly. But the pigment in Supra colour is insane anyway, it's extremely high, so you get instant coverage anyway. Okay, so yeah, you can definitely see the difference. It takes away any of that redness from my cheeks, it evens out the complexion, and it has slightly covered my under eye. If you do find that you suffer with dark circles, there is a shade in Derma colour that is called D30. Most of you who are familiar with Kryolan will be familiar with Derma colour. You'll be familiar also with that shade of D30, which is an orange corrector for any dark circles. However, in Supra colour, there is also a shade that will help to correct and neutralise underneath the eyes, which is this one. It's 288, so this is going to be a very similar effect to using your Derma D30. It's going to just lift and brighten up underneath. If you do find that you have darkness but you're slightly more of a fairer skin, then I would always suggest to mix down a little bit of a lighter tone with that 288 just to take the warmth out, otherwise you might find it a little bit more harder to correct on top. So you can even mix a little bit of Ivory in there. TV White is a really nice colour. It's an off pink, very, very pale, so that's nice to always neutralise and take down colour. Or you can just use a white mixing corrector, and that will again help just to take down that warmth if you're slightly more fairer skin. However, you know, it's definitely gonna work if you have warmer skin tone and you suffer with dark circles. Okay, so that's half of my face done. I'm gonna just go across to the other side. My nose always tends to go red. It goes red in the winter, it goes red in the summer. It's an absolute nightmare, so this is why I love Supra colour. It just instantly covers any of that uneven skin tone. I'm not going to work too much underneath my eyes because I will go in and of course highlight. Now, because it does have a strong pigment, you don't always necessarily need to go in and use a concealer to correct. I'm a big believer myself, if a foundation has a high pigment, then it should do the job to cover. I would only really go in and start correcting underneath the eyes if you could really see a shadow, or it is something where someone does suffer with dark circles, then I would rely more heavily on my colour correctors and my heavier duty concealers. So what I'm going to do now is just go in with our W palette and start to work with our warmer colours, just to show you those as well. So I tend to work with more of the, you know, W range if I'm doing a little bit more of a highlight. 1W is a really nice colour just to brighten underneath the eyes. If you do find as well that someone is slightly more warmer and they need a yellow undertone to highlight, you have GG and Ivory. They're quite popular colours to go underneath the eyes and just to lift and brighten. I tend to try not go too light. Just something to open up the eyes more than actually be a very obvious prominent highlight underneath my eyes. So again, I'll do one side first just to show you the difference. I have already put eyeshadow on, as you know, so I'm just going to go back in with a clean brush and bring that back out. The fab thing about also using Supra colour, because it has more of an oil base, if you do find for summer wear you need something to be slightly more durable so it doesn't come off if you're, you know, a little bit more hot. It has got that oil base, so any kind of perspiring, if you're quite warm, if you're wearing any SPFs, it doesn't tend to take the foundation with it. You do, however, need to use a powder to fix, otherwise you will find that the foundation will move throughout the day. So it has that great aspect of a base to really stick to the skin, and then you just need to fix on top just to stop any of that surface from coming away. So it's really subtle but effective. It still gives you that coverage, it brightens, it's highlighted, and it gives you a really clean finish. It's not too heavy, it doesn't grab onto pores, it just gives you a gorgeous smooth complexion. So now I'm going to start to go into contour. Contouring, I would always say, when you're doing it on yourself, use your natural features to enhance. Try not to follow a rule of thumb with everybody, because everyone's face shapes and structures are different. For me, I'm slightly more, I would say overall, but I have got a thinner, finer chin compared to the rest of my forehead, so I tend to avoid contouring that area too much because I don't want to shorten. If I'm going to do anything, I would just do a little bit on my forehead, and then I focus the rest just on my cheekbones. I go underneath so you can feel where it starts to hollow. That's where you want to do your placement. However, I like to bring a little bit of the contour up onto my cheekbones as well. I feel like it just, from a front profile, gives you that frame and it helps to really enhance them. Sometimes if it's too low, from a front profile, all it's going to do is make you look a lot more gaunt around that area. So I would always bring it up a little bit. It adds warmth, youth and freshness to the skin. And that shade that I used there was V19. I find it's a really gorgeous colour just for more of a bronzier skin. If you find that you want something a little bit more on the cooler side, you have NG1 and NG2. Also Din and Lin are beautiful contouring colours as well, but V19 is great for me for my complexion and for the finish that I like to give my makeup. Just going to take a closer look, make sure we're all blended. And you know, this is a small amount of product. I really haven't used a lot. And it still does everything that you would need it to. Okay, so once we've done the foundation, we do need to fix this base. Like I said to you, it's oil, it's cream, it will move if you don't fix it. If you find that you are more of a dry skin, or your clients have more of a dry skin, and throughout the day they don't tend to have any natural oils coming onto the surface, this should be fine. You shouldn't have to really powder it, maybe just a little bit underneath the eyes, of course, just to stop that creasing. I am, however, on my skin going to powder, because I've put the Ultra Under Base underneath as well. I have hydrated my skin, so I don't want the Supra Colour foundation to have to challenge that underneath. This is just the loose translucent powder, which is our TL powder, comes in a little pot. I like to work with the loose powder just because it really helps to absorb any of that excess oil that you don't need from the Supra Colour, and it gives you a really flawless finish. I'm just locking that in with a powder puff just to get maximum durability from the foundation. You can use compact powders if you're only adding a small amount of fixation, but if you are going to be looking for a full fixed base, I would always say stick with a loose powder. You just get a lot more absorption there from the talc. So to complete our look, I'm going to be finishing with lips. I'm going to use a face liner in the shade 24. These are a fantastic pencil. They're extremely creamy, high in pigment, so it's great if you need to recontour and restructure the lip shape and size, and also to give you a great base for your lipstick or lip gloss to sit on top of. So to complement the face liner in shade 24, I'm going to be working with one of our high glosses. The shade is G-Boss, which is a new colour to the high gloss collection. The high glosses are extremely pigmented and very, very comfortable to wear. They're not tacky, they're not too sticky, they have a gorgeous velvety finish, and they just give a polished look to your makeup. So we've used for our foundation our Supra Colour palette in TV and W. We've used it to cover, conceal, highlight and contour. You can use it for a day look, you can use it for occasional wear. It's a very versatile foundation for all medias of makeup.